This conference will now be recorded.
Yeah, hi everybody. Nice to meet you all. Today our meeting is gonna be with Mr. Matthew.
Yes.
Hi, how are you, Matthew?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. He is from the United States. He's an application engineer at SWYFT Solutions. Are you from Michigan?
Yeah, so originally from Michigan, but I spent a lot of time in Colorado out where all the mountains are now, so get a lot of mountain time nowadays.
Yeah, good. Okay. Today's topic is gonna be why Solidworks users should we care about the 3D experience. And after that, if anybody got a question, feel free. Let me make you a presenter in order to be share screen.
Alrighty.
Okay. Here we go. Yeah, presenter now.
Alright.
Yeah.
Choose my screen. Alright, is that coming through for everyone?
Yeah. It's obvious.
Yeah, alrighty. So I'll go ahead and I'm going to start with a few slides, kick off things. If anybody has any questions, I'll have a panel over to the side, so I'll try to keep an eye out for that. But if any, Mohammed, if you see anything that's time urgent, go ahead and interject. Or if anybody interjects in the meantime, just let me know that I'm missing something, and I'll jump in and address the questions as I'm going as well. So today we're talking about why SOLIDWORKS users should care about 3D experience. We're not necessarily going to be going into the picks and clicks of how to do every single aspect of 3D experience because a lot of people just don't have a good understanding of what it is and how it should be applied to SOLIDWORKS users. So we're just going over that rudimentary basic and why we should care as SOLIDWORKS users about this solution that we may be hearing more and more about, and some users may not have even heard about yet. So just a quick little summary about myself. I was born and raised in Hillsdale, Michigan here in the United States. So not too much there, but flat ground and a lot of farming. So went to my education is mechanical engineering. That was in Grand Valley State University. And then I got started with SOLIDWORKS a little bit in school, very basic, extruding a cube, you know, the basic parametric fundamentals. But then I really got started doing some contract design experience with perception engineering, where I started to get into all sorts of different projects. And the nice thing with contract design experience is you're learning all sorts of different aspects, whether it be furniture design, more of an industrial design type aspect, to all the way up to like sheet metal components and very rigid parametric structures. So now currently I spend my time primarily between Michigan and Colorado. I go back and forth a good amount, but I like to, outside of work, I like to go out hiking, camping, skiing, both snow skiing and water skiing, a lot of outdoor activities. So I spend enough of my day in front of a computer learning all about all the wonderful tools, but then aside from that, I like to get outside a little bit as well. So jumping into the main topic today, why should SOLIDWORKS users actually care about the 3D experience solutions? The short answer that will be going much further past here is it really depends. 3D experience, as I mentioned a moment ago, it's just a massively vast solution. So unless you really have a deep understanding of it, it can be confusing on why it's important to you. What you really need is some guidance at first, because there's all these different solutions, and depending on what you use SOLIDWORKS for, there's tools for you to help enhance that workflow. So start out, I don't know if anybody puts a little +1 in the chat or anything, but quick poll if anybody has heard of any 3D experience solutions. I know that 3D experience world is now the naming reference for that conference. So that's much more likely that they're starting to hear the 3D experience title and 3D experience terminology start to come out. And we got a couple of +1s coming through for the 3D experience hearing it. Now, who has actually seen 3D experience? Has anybody gone to any of the 3D experience, sat in on any of the 3D experience world sessions where they were going through and actually showing the solution, or whether it be through somebody you know, jumping in and showing you some of the 3D experience solutions, a little +1 for seeing 3D experience. We got some fresh eyes here to 3D experience. Now, is there anybody around that has actually used 3D experience? Do we have any 3D experience users around? Ankit has seen 3D experience. All right, so it sounds like we've got a good mix of at least hearing about it, but some people have at least seen it a little bit. Some people are fresh eyes to it, but not really any 3D experience users, which this session will be perfect for getting in, understanding what it really is as a solution, and like the whole title is, why you should care about it as a SolidWorks user. So anybody have a new product development background, machine design, automation background, manufacturing background? What's everybody do? I know we have Ankit talked about being in quality control currently and wanted to get into some design. Anybody else have any experience in any of these fields? Nothing coming through on that. It just gives me a little bit of context on how to tailor the conversation as we're diving into the solution. We've got fresher engineers here and designers. Always welcome. Always a good time to get started with the tools with fresh eyes and not have to break any old habits. So let's just take a quick view with everybody being a little bit more fresh to the 3D experience side of things. Let's just take a quick summary of 3D experience before we jump into actually looking at the solution. So at a 30,000 foot view, 3D experience is a platform to combine the power of Dassault Systèmes' many brands. If you're unfamiliar, Dassault Systèmes is the owner of SolidWorks, and they have a lot of different sister brands as they're now just combining the power of those tools on the 3D experience platform. And when you're starting to get more and more into that 3D experience content, watching videos on it and things, you'll start to hear platform a lot, and that can be a little bit confusing and ambiguous. Platform, you can think of it as essentially like an operating system, like Windows, where all of these tools have a centralized location for all of them to work together seamlessly. So just to review, the brands that Dassault Systèmes manages that are involved in 3D experience, there's a large number of brands, but some of the ones you may be more familiar with, we've got SolidWorks and CATIA for the design side of things, Anovia for the data and lifecycle, and even some of the project management side of things. You've got Simulia for the simulation, CFD, FEA side of things, and then you've got Delmia for the manufacturing side of things when it comes to milling, ERP systems, things like that, managed through Delmia. And then it has a wider range as well. I mean, you can get into 3D Excite for the marketing content side of things, NetVibes for the data analytics side of things. So, I mean, there's a vast range of solutions here. But as SolidWorks users, those four that I have listed there, four domains there, are the main aspects of 3D experience that will provide benefit to the average. That's going to be where you're managing your design, and Anovia is data management built into a lot of these offers. So those two are essential. And then if you're expanding, you can get into that high-end simulation and manufacturing as well, beyond the tools that SolidWorks offers. So historically, it was actually launched in 2012, but it's using brands that have a history all the way back to the early 1980s. So it's the technology it's using is not new. It was just the combination of them originally in 2012. And this was actually a lot of on-premise people that had it installed on their own server base. And it was a much larger organization standard use case. Now, 3D Experience Works launched in 2019, and it's a subset of the offerings of 3D Experience, and this is tailored for SolidWorks users, so this is much more likely when you started to hear more about the 3D Experience offers. It's an on-cloud solution that provides the SolidWorks users out-of-the-box product data management and product lifecycle management tools that can get them up and running with proper practices in a matter of days, potentially. And just to review the different options, beyond the wide array of options of 3D Experience in general, there's a number of options within the SolidWorks to get started with the data management. which can also be confusing to people that are new to the solution. So just to clarify what those are and some of the terminology I may be using as I'm going through, you have an option to get connected to the data management tools and 3DEXPEREINCE platform with SOLIDWORKS Desktop. That is your SOLIDWORKS that's installed locally. That is the licensing still managed with that serial number. You deactivate it and reactivate it on another computer. Your data management is installed as an add-on, but you're still your data file type is still your SOLIDWORKS proprietary files, SLD PRTs, SLD ASM, so on and so forth. And then jumping up to the SOLIDWORKS connected, you might also hear 3DEXPEREINCE SOLIDWORKS as an terminology. It's also installed locally, so don't mistake that for anything that's directly in your browser. The SOLIDWORKS connected offer is still installed locally, just as SOLIDWORKS Desktop is. However, its licensing is not serial number based. It's named user, so it's managed through the 3DEXPEREINCE platform. You can install it on as many devices as you'd like and sign in and activate that license through a sign-on. The data management portion of that is installed as SOLIDWORKS is installed. It's built into that installation, but you're still dealing with the same SOLIDWORKS proprietary files, SLD PRTs, SLD ASM, so on and so forth. And this, with the licensing being managed through the 3DEXPEREINCE platform, you are always on the latest version with this. So it's much easier to administrate and make sure that everyone in your organization is on the same version. However, if you need that control of what year you want to have installed, then the SOLIDWORKS Desktop option is the way to go. And then the last offer here, which is actually quite new as an offer, is the SOLIDWORKS Cloud offer. And this is a set of tools that's entirely browser-based, so it increases your flexibility beyond anything previously capable. Then you have the licensing is still also managed through the 3DEXPEREINCE platform, named user, so you just sign on any browser, whether it be a Mac, a tablet, a phone, a computer, and then jump on designing where you left off. It has the built-in data management tools as well, the same ones you'd be using with the other two offers, but you're not going to be dealing with SOLIDWORKS proprietary files. It's a set of SOLIDWORKS tools, but they're built to be in that browser and they're not a file-based system, so you're dealing with SOLIDWORKS or a Dassault Systems proprietary data type that is exported as a 3D XML or SLD XML, and you can always, of course, export to like STEP and IGES as well. So now that we have a basic kind of understanding of what 3DEXPEREINCE is, let's just take a look at what some of these tools are. So starting off, let's look at how you manage your data with the offerings that tie into SOLIDWORKS with the 3DEXPEREINCE solutions. So this is SOLIDWORKS here, as we know and love. I just have an assembly here. And you may notice that I have one additional icon over here on the left if you've got keen eyes. You'll see a small 3DEXPEREINCE compass here is the terminology that symbol is named as. So if I actually click on that, this is called My Session. This is the data management that's built in to SOLIDWORKS through the offer of 3DEXPEREINCE. So you're able to actually manage all of your data right from within the SOLIDWORKS window. Now with this window, you'll see a live view of the feature tree or the feature assembly tree here, and you'll see in each individual subassembly and component. And then you can expand this out even to get more information beyond just the name of the file. You're actually able to get into revision management. You have some maturity state life cycle flows you can get into, and then you can even hook up your metadata to the platform itself. So you can link your SOLIDWORKS properties directly to the platform. So you're able to even edit that from your browser, because I'll be showing you in a bit, you'll be able to access this data from your browser as well, as it is a cloud-based solution. So as you're working, this is installed or downloaded to a local cache. You can save to that local cache as you're working, and then when you're ready, you can push that save back up to your cloud storage. If anybody's familiar with PDM, it's somewhat equivalent to checking it out. It's pulled to your local cache, and then when you check it back in, you push it back to the archive server. So what we have here is just an assembly with a saw, a miter saw here, but we don't have a blade. So if we were to want to add a blade in, we can go ahead and actually, we can go to our folder structure essentially and find that blade. Or if we don't know where that blade is, we have search capabilities built right into this add-in pane here. And we can just go ahead and search for a component. And this will search the entire database, so it's not searching an individual folder. And if you're working with a Windows File Explorer and you've tried to search an entire structure, it can take an extremely long time to try to find what you're looking for, if it even finds it. Here we get a wide range of results. We can jump into tagging things to filter out more individually exactly what part we're looking for. but I see my part right here, the blade I want to add. And you can think of this as kind of like a Windows File Explorer. You can actually just go ahead and click and drag into your session. Now, I haven't actually had this in my local cache, so you'll see it downloads there really quick, and then it will go ahead and open up right in my session. So that's directly from that cloud-based storage, but now I can go ahead and work with it right in SolidWorks as you would expect traditionally. I'll go ahead and throw a mate in here. Make that concentric. And go ahead and add a second mate to place that. All right, so now we have a saw blade in there. And this model has now changed. So there's a couple things that I can do. If I hit Control S, that's just going to save it to my local cache. But if you're ready to send that back to your cloud-based storage, where anybody else that has access to that database can access the latest version right away, you can come back to your session and you can actually see a status symbol here that the file is modified in session. Now, if I was to go ahead and save this, I'll go ahead and save with options. What will happen is it will actually save it to that local cache automatically. So if anything were to happen, you do have that kind of backup in a sense. As you're saving to your local cache, that protects you from any data loss during crashes or anything like that. And then it will convert to a data type so you can view it really quickly on the platform side of things, and then open up a dialog window here that shows a little bit more information. Now, I skipped one step intentionally so that you see what happens here once it's actually to the saving portion. But we have this warning symbol here, modified but not locked, and I have this option to lock it. When you're working with this system, you have this column here where there's all these padlocks. This is basically the reservation type system that prevents people from overwriting each other while they're working. So this is huge for people that are collaborating on the same assembly to make sure that you're not accidentally overwriting. You both can have the same assembly open at the same time, and people can designate which user is working on which part with this locking system. In my case, I didn't lock that, but I need to make changes, so I can just lock any of the parts that need changes here, and then I can go ahead and choose to unlock it as it saves so that I don't have to worry about manually doing that since I'm done working on this. And then once you hit save, it will go ahead and then just push this up to the cloud-based storage. You'll see here it's just saving in my database that I've set up. So beyond the initial save, and it does depend on, it's not going to save the entire structure every time you save. So your save times will depend on your speed to some degree, as well as the size of the files you're saving. But in my case, currently, you can see that this is the only status symbol that is different than the rest. These status symbols mean it's up to date on the server. It doesn't need to worry about those, but it's saving the entire assembly because I've made a change to that assembly structure. So it's pushing that entire assembly back up for any of the other people that I'm collaborating with on this project to get immediate access to this. Usually for this size of assembly, it's usually around a minute. There it goes. And you'll see the status updates right here along with the rest of them. Beyond just saving files, as I mentioned, you do have the ability to get into maturity state flows as well as revisioning. So for example, if I have a component here, you can see that it's in work. If I had just made changes to this and I want to release it to manufacturing or production, I can actually manage that right from within SolidWorks as well. So you have options for maturity flows where you can come in and make something private if you don't want anybody else to be able to search it, and work if you want to have it at a state where everybody else can reserve it and make changes and save those changes. You can freeze it to stop other people from working on it while it's under review, and give a status that it's under review so that people don't go in and make any changes. And then you have a release state which prevents anybody from making any changes until a new revision is created. So this is a great way to, I mean, some people are implementing systems like this manually and just having a workflow that they know that they have to follow, but this is a way of foolproofing that. And you set something into a release state, you know you can't change it until a new revision is created. And then you do have obsolete. If you have a product line where you're not going to use a part anymore, you don't want to carry that on anymore or use that, you can go ahead and obsolete that part. So in terms of revisions, you can customize that as well to have a major or major minor. So in this case, I'll go ahead and just show you that really quick. In this case, if I don't have this in a release state, it will increase the minor revision if I increase it. But I have the high enough permissions to just go ahead and release this myself. And then you can see it's released, and I can come in and choose to create a new revision of that component as well. You can give a revision comment if you'd like, but I'll just go ahead and revise. Now, this will go ahead and tell me that I now have a newer revision. It's not going to automatically replace it, as this part may be used in multiple different places, and you may not want the new revision applied everywhere. So you can manually choose that I want to place that new revision into this assembly. And I'll go ahead and select OK, and you can see that it will then replace with revision B.1 here in an in-work state. And that revision history is kept. So your A.1 is going to stay there as it was. So you always have that ability to go back. And you can see that this is B.1 in work here. And this wants to be saved because that product structure has changed. So that's just the basics of the data management tools. And there's so much more. And I don't want to get too far into it because I know this is kind of an introduction on why you should care. But data management is extremely important when it comes to having a proper process and foolproofing your workflow. Jumping back here. So just to recap on managing your data, it's going to help you improve your productivity and reduce your mistakes. It's going to reduce your time spent doing non-value added activities. You may not be at a point where you're spending a lot of time searching for data, but you will get there if you don't have a proper data management system, especially as you start to work with more and more people and you don't know how they think when they're saving something. So you have that extensive search capabilities. You're able to collaborate a lot more efficiently and just overall streamline your process with data management. You also have a single source of truth with this, so you're not sending copies of files off. You're all working off that single centralized location, and you're all working off that same component, and so you don't ever get disconnections there. And then you can also scale easier than ever before because you can just add people right to this platform and give them direct access to the data just like that, regardless of where they are. And they can install the location and start working right away. And then you can add on with capabilities, the extensive capabilities as you need as well. You also are working from a system that understands CAD, and that's extremely important. It's not just for Solidworks either. You can actually get connectors like that for a lot of different CAD packages. So if you're in an organization that is using different CAD packages and different teams, you can still use the same data management system and build these multi-CAD assemblies and still work the way you want to work with this system. Now, the big thing that is beneficial with a system that knows CAD is you're not going to have things like broken file references from somebody copying and pasting something without telling SolidWorks they were copying and pasting it. If you've ever had that happen, open up an assembly, there's a part missing, and now that person isn't available and you have no idea where to find it. You're not going to have to worry about that with this because this is a data system. It understands that this is tied to this, and if this moves, it has to update all references. And the reservation is a big part in that as well, of not saving over each other. So of course there are cloud-based storage systems like Dropbox and Google Drive that might work for a single person, but even then there can be some problems with that. As you start to get more and more people, it's more and more essential to have a proper data management system that understands CAD. And then just as a plus, you have strong metadata capabilities. That kind of falls into that non-value added activities side of things with being able to filter searches, but also you're able to jump in and edit that property side of things from the platform. So that kind of gets into the next aspect of collaboration and being able to have non-CAD people jump in with that as well. And then it being a cloud-based solution makes getting started easier than ever before. You're able to reduce a lot of your IT overhead. Data management systems are not necessarily easy to set up traditionally with getting your server set up, getting everything installed, and maintaining that moving forward. It's also extremely easy with this system to deploy your software. So the SolidWorks desktop solution, you still are responsible for manually taking care of that, but the other two offers, with the connected offer, the users are automatically prompted to install and update, and then the cloud offer, they don't even have to worry about it at all. And then with the flexibility in purchasing, this is a subscription-based type solution, but that does give you some flexibility in how long you want that term. So for example, you can get in at a quarterly option, and that provides a lot of flexibility for people like people that are hiring in maybe interns or temporary work. They can go ahead and purchase a short-term subscription rather than a full license for that user. So the next thing I wanted to take a look at is increasing your collaboration and how that can be beneficial for a SolidWorks user through the 3DEXPERIENCE platform. So this is actually the 3DEXPERIENCE platform here. This is in your browser. That is the same link of this. You'll see the same branding here. 3D Compass up here is where you access all of your roles and apps that you can install or open right in the browser. Actually, a lot of the tools are browser-based. SolidWorks is one of the few that's still installed locally. You can access a lot of your data management tools right within the browser. Now, I'm currently on an administrator dashboard. Administrators to the platform have access to this view. Now, this is where you can really easily manage who is added to your platform on the admin side of things. And then you can jump in and you can see exactly which roles or licenses that they have assigned to them. And then you can manage that right from here, all in one centralized location. And inviting members is extremely easy as well. When it comes to inviting members, you can just go ahead and enter their email. You can choose whether you want them to be a member, admin, etc. But really, the nice thing about the ease of it is the assignment of roles. As you're inviting them, you can just go ahead and click check boxes of the roles that you want to assign them. And then once you hit the invite button, it will send them an email. They log into the platform and they have everything automatically assigned and ready to go for them. So that's what I'm talking about with that ease of admin of even remote organizations. They can just send their workers all the stuff they need and they can log in and have it all ready for them. So jumping in, these are what are called dashboards. So you can set up different dashboards for different projects. And that can be great for collaboration because you can add different team members to these dashboards, and each different dashboard can have a different workflow. For example, I have kind of my data management on this tab, and I have some issue tracking over here, project planning over here. Now with the data management side of things, this is essentially a folder that I have here. You see I have all of these different folders that I have ability to jump into and see all of my data. You can configure the columns based on your SolidWorks properties. You can even have that show up here. And like I was saying, you can give the ability to jump in and edit the properties that are linked with SolidWorks directly in the browser. So you can be on the go and still editing the property side of things with SolidWorks. Now, another nice thing about the collaboration is you have access to live 3D views right here in your browser. And you'll see that the SAW is even here because I saved that to the cloud storage. So that has access to the latest up-to-date data here as long as nobody's made any changes in the meantime. And the nice thing about that in the collaboration sense is you don't even have to necessarily be a SolidWorks user to be collaborating on a project. You can, one, SolidWorks users can jump in and view it wherever they are, even if they don't have SolidWorks on them. But two, if you're working with somebody that doesn't use SolidWorks, they can still view what you're doing, the status of it, and provide feedback. I mean, this viewer there's different viewers on the platform itself, but even with this viewer, you can come in, and I'll apologize now for my messy drawing here, but you can give some markups here. If you have a tablet and pencil, it'd probably be a lot more efficient. You can give text callouts. Oops. And you can go ahead and choose to either save these to internal communities that you have on here for communication, or just save them to your local computer and then send those off through whatever communication method you're using. So it just provides more visibility for users, whether they're SolidWorks users or not. Another nice thing about this is not only can you just get visibility of the product itself, especially useful for, well, it's useful for SolidWorks and collaborating with non-SolidWorks users. You can get full visibility of the product structure itself. So the SolidWorks user may have a really strong grasp on what they've built, but you might be dealing with somebody that doesn't quite understand what's going on with the assembly and how it's built. So they can come in here and actually get a live view of the product structure. And what's really fun about this is you get a 3D view here that's linked completely with this. So you can actually get cross highlights of components, which is especially useful for somebody who was not involved in the construction of the assembly. They can jump in and see exactly what they're looking for, or they can go the other direction. They can click on it here and see exactly where that part is contained. So that's just a really handy kind of preliminary type of collaboration that you can get into. You can go a lot further, but just being able to view that up-to-date data, provide feedback on it, whether you're a SolidWorks user or not, even the flexibility of being able to do this anywhere, because this is in your browser, provides a lot more capabilities than were previously available. In terms of non-value added activities, the amount of time you can cut down on sending somebody a direct link to just come in and view this, as opposed to taking an hour to put together a slideshow of 50 screenshots with a different markup on each one, that can save a lot of time. For just have them jump in, view the model themselves, and then they can provide any feedback if they need from there. So jumping back to my slides here. So in terms of increasing your collaboration, you're going to centralize all of that collaboration in one location for all teams. You're going to have, you have these options in communities where you can have all your project updates and everything. I focus more on the CAD side of collaboration, but you can keep your communication, whether it be chats, video chats, everything can be done on the platform itself. You can integrate multiple tools as well, all on that single platform. That's what we talked about at the beginning, about that platform being kind of an operating system for all of these different tools to come together. Now we can combine all the different teams. We've got design team tools, management tools, data management tools, simulation tools, manufacturing tools. You can get sales in here. I mean, you can get your whole organization on this platform and they're all collaborating together, rather than having one team using this tool, one team using another tool, and now there's no cross collaboration between teams. And you can even go beyond what I was showing with issue tracking and managing engineering change, even to have a collaboration workflow with project management teams and things like that that need to be involved in that, any engineering changes. Another benefit of that collaboration is you can actually, I didn't mention this before, you can work seamlessly with other 3DEXPERIENCE users. So if you have SOLIDWORKS data management, if you have another 3DEXPERIENCE user, they can actually invite you over to their platform with your license, no additional cost or anything, and just give you direct access to their data. So they get to keep ownership of their data. They're not sending off files, but they can give you controlled access with controlled permissions to their data, and then they can remove you from the platform. So this is great for suppliers. You can add suppliers to your platform and give them access to only the release data that they need to see. You can add contractors to your platform and have them help out, give them access to data, and then remove them. Or if you're a contractor, you can have that as kind of a possibility or a playing card that you can offer, that you have 3DEXPERIENCE platform. You can just invite me if you're also on the platform. And then you also have partners that can just be like a manufacturing partner. You can give them access to your data so that you don't have to send files to them. They always have the up-to-date latest release data that they know that they can go ahead and manufacture, and then they can provide feedback on that data as well. So that's really important to increase that collaboration and reduce those miscommunications. And then a lot of what I was talking about while we were taking a live look is that increasing the visibility of non-CAD users. So that 3D viewer of live CAD data, that's going to be huge for, I mean, both SOLIDWORKS users and non-SOLIDWORKS users, but in the sense of why it's beneficial for SOLIDWORKS users, you're going to be able to, like I said, reduce that non-value added time. So they're happy, they're able to get in and see it, and you're happy that you're saving time. You're able to go further, as I mentioned, into tracking issues, and they can provide feedback as the non-CAD users as well. And then you also have some BOM management tools that even the non-SOLIDWORKS user can get in and help manage the BOM side of things without getting into SOLIDWORKS. So it just helps increase your collaboration and takes some of the load off of your plate as a SOLIDWORKS user, where it was traditionally dependent on you as a SOLIDWORKS user to open up the model and make those types of tweaks. Now, the last thing that I wanted to take a look at in the sense of a live look is expanding the capabilities. And I'll actually take a look at expanding the capabilities in the sense of design. I don't know if you've heard of XShape or seen XShape or anything, but it's a subdivisional type modeling tool that's actually right in your browser. This is actually included with one of the 3DEXPERIENCE, or two of them, the 3DEXPERIENCE SOLIDWORKS offer, SOLIDWORKS Connected. You can get this with the professional and premium offer included with it. However, it is available on its own as well. So I'll just go ahead and find a part here. You may have noticed in SOLIDWORKS here that this part has a mesh type look to it. And that's not actually any hard edges or anything. That's actually because it's built with XShape. So you'll see here, it's actually a really smooth part because parts in XShape are automatically made with all C2 surface continuity. So if I jump back to my tab here, let's see, drag this. into this app, this will actually open up that part because it was originally created right here in that browser-based app. And this is expanding your capabilities with design capabilities that weren't available to you before. I mean, you have SOLIDWORKS surfacing, but that is not, I wouldn't say that's a fundamental skill in SOLIDWORKS that you should start out with necessarily. That takes a lot of skill learning how to do 3D sketches and lofting surfaces and all the conditions of tangency and all of those aspects. It becomes a much more advanced topic. But with this, what you have is a body of preliminary kind of hunk of clay, virtual hunk of clay. Then you have a large network of mesh. You can choose how many lines you want in each direction. But then beyond that, it's just a matter of grabbing which ones you want to move, and then you can just move those around. And that definitely is not as easy as that in SOLIDWORKS to create a really organic industrial design type surface. So, I mean, in our case, we had that markup earlier to round this off a little bit more. You can just go ahead and grab those nodes and push that out a little bit, creating a more rounded surface. And then you can go ahead and save that. First, I have to exit this command and rebuild it, and then save it. And I'll just go ahead and make sure that's saved. And then jumping back into SOLIDWORKS side of things, whoops. If I was to go ahead and open up let's see here, the pedestal. There we go. You can see that in the status here, if I scroll all the way down and minimize this, give this a refresh, you'll see that I have a symbol here that more recent version exists on 3DEXPEREINCE. So this is not a SOLIDWORKS file, but you can still add it to your SOLIDWORKS assemblies. And then if I was to just go ahead and reload that from the server, it would pull that most latest version into this session and replace it with anything I've saved. So even though it's not necessarily in SOLIDWORKS, you can still work with SOLIDWORKS with this tool and have these, and you can insert it as a derived component into a SOLIDWORKS part, and then carry on further operations downstream from that, like shelling it out, adding ribs, adding any kind of manufacturable features. And then if you update it, that it's kind of like a master modeling technique, you update it upstream, all of those changes are going to carry on downstream. So there's a lot of flexibility in how you can use these tools. And like I said, this tool specifically is included with the 3DEXPERIENCE SOLIDWORKS offer, but there's a wide range of design tools that you expand your capabilities with. Now, beyond expanding your capabilities from a design aspect, I mentioned a little bit earlier about jumping into some of those other brands. SOLIDWORKS has some great tools when it comes to simulation and manufacturing, but there are some limitations that you will reach to some degree. Now, you can expand past that with the Simulia side of simulation. So from the structural aspect of things, it's running off of an Abacus solver. If you're familiar with the Abacus solver, it's an extremely well-known and powerful solver when it comes to FEA. You can carry out advanced non-linear explicit dynamics like that can crushing animation up top, where you have much more deformation that would be typically possible within SOLIDWORKS. And that leads into the next step there, large deformation, large strain. So we see that simulation on the bottom with a lot of complex context there of surfaces coming in contact with each other. And without having general contact, which is my next step, you'd have to set up each individual surface that's going to come in contact with each other in the simulation side of things. But with this, it'll automatically detect every single contact that's going to come in contact with each other and take that into consideration when running the simulation. You can also get into advanced material calibration. So if you're running off of your own material database, it can be extremely important that you have the exact properties of your materials in the database, and you can get into that aspect of things of setting up your own material database. And then you can get even into multidisciplinary simulations or other domains as well with fluids simulation, plastic simulation, electromagnetics, and even more simulations available through the Simulia domain. So SOLIDWORKS simulation has some great tools, but this is expanding your capabilities even further. And this is also working off of that centralized database. So if you update the design, you'll still be able to update in SOLIDWORKS. You update the design in SOLIDWORKS, you'll still be able to immediately pull those updates into your simulation model, maybe tweak a few things and then rerun it without having to set up the entire simulation again. So a huge time saver there to have it linked to the data management system that your CAD system is. Now, jumping forward to the Delmia side of things, you have some pretty advanced manufacturing capabilities with the Delmia manufacturing domain. You can get into complex 5-axis machining and NC lathes operations. You can have some high-speed machining operations, and you can, kind of recapping the point with a simulation, have a really tight integration with the 3D models because it's off of that same data management system. So you can start to generate those tool paths a lot earlier than maybe traditionally you'd want to wait till it's almost complete or complete. With this, you can start generating those tool paths, detect any interferences or collisions early on, provide some feedback to the designers, have them update it, and then pull those updates right into your toolpath, update your toolpaths seamlessly. And then lastly, we've taken a look at some of the data management capabilities with the Innovia side of things. With all of that add-in was Innovia-based tools and the lifecycle and revision tools, those are all Innovia. But there's a lot more that you can get into as you're expanding and your needs expand. You have out-of-the-box cloud-based data management capabilities as we looked at, but you can also connect to various CAD software. Like right up here in the top animation there, it's a little bit hard to see, but that's actually an Altium connector, so you can even hook up your electrical applications straight to the platform and have that linked directly to your CAD as well in SolidWorks. So you can have these multi-CAD operations with the different CADs and connectors. You can also get into project management. Down there at the bottom, you see some Gantt charts, so you can set up your entire project timeline and assign these tasks out to everyone on the platform. So some collaboration aspect there and benefits. You can get into managing engineering change on the platform. There's some preliminary abilities right with the SolidWorks offer, but you can even expand further into ECOs, ECRs as your organization expands. And then you can go ahead and actually manage your product structure and BOM without even SolidWorks. So you can get those non-SolidWorks users in there. They can start inserting parts into the BOM, and then the SolidWorks user can go in and clean them up and place them. But you can have somebody building entire product structures without even having access to the SolidWorks, and then it just requires a designer to go in and put things in place. So that is the aspects that I wanted to cover today. I know there's a lot to that even, but there's a lot more that you can get into. So trying to get a middle ground of kind of introductory concepts, but also showing you a lot of tools and the power that you can get into. So as a summary, 3DEXPEREINCE is that collaborative environment that allows you to use all of these different tools. Now, these are kind of, as you need them, you can find the right solution for your organization. So someone like us would go through and do an audit of what you would need exactly. So you don't need to get everything all at once. You can choose exactly what you need, which gives you more flexibility there. It was originally launched in 2012, but it has tools that are being used as far back as 1981 with CATIA being launched. So it has some really strong foundations within the tools that are used with it. It's just a platform to bring all those tools together. And then with 3DEXPEREINCE Works in 2019, we're bringing that power of collaboration with a focus on SolidWorks users. And just to recap the 3 different SolidWorks solutions, if you're interested in getting into that data management, which I mean, even from a small group of people, I think data management can be an extremely important aspect for you. So you get into SolidWorks Desktop, you have the flexible administration in terms of which year you want to have installed. So if you need to have a previous year of SolidWorks installed for any reason, that gives you that flexibility, but it still gives you access to the data management. And you're still working with that proprietary SolidWorks files if you need to send those out to other people. Now, jumping all the way to the other side with the SolidWorks cloud side of things, extremely easy to carry out administration. It's all based on the platform and username basis, and you don't have to worry about any type of updates ever. That's all managed through Dassault Systems, push those updates for you. So you'll log in, you won't even notice other than new features being introduced. Then it just provides additional flexibility in terms of how you're working. So regardless of what type of device, Mac, tablet, so on and so forth. And SolidWorks Connected is a nice pairing of those offers. You get ease of administration in the sense that it's a named user-based licensing. You don't have to worry about handling those serial numbers anymore. But it does require you to be on the current version. And then you do get some additional tools such as the browser-based design tools included with some of the offers. And it even has some benefits like the professional offer has SolidWorks Visualize Professional instead of Standard. So you can get into some animations there as well. But you're still using that SolidWorks proprietary file. So you can still work with people that are on desktop. It's the same file type. It's just a different way of licensing it. So to recap why SolidWorks users should care, it's going to help you manage your data and reduce those non-value added activities. It's going to increase your collaboration and make your life a lot easier when it comes to communicating with other SOLIDWORKS users and even other people in other teams within your organization. And it's going to expand the possibilities that you can get into with things like high-end simulation, high-end manufacturing, and high-end data management tools as well, beyond what comes with the standard just revision and lifecycle capabilities. Any questions?
So, first I want to thank you all for tuning in, and also thank you, Matthew, for your informative presentation about the 3DEXPEREINCE platform, and also encourage everybody to try to get involved because this platform is very powerful in terms of collaboration and also cloud-based management, and also it is a secure platform in order to use your CAD files and share it with others. If anybody have any question, feel free.
Welcome any and all questions. And if anybody doesn't have any questions now, but they think of something down the road, you can feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, and I'm happy to just send me a chat. I'm happy to answer any questions down the road as well, anytime for 3DEXPEREINCE information, SOLIDWORKS information, any of the other brands. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Okay, Matthew, well done. Thank you so much.
Thank you for inviting me. It was a great time.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.
Bye.
Yeah, bye. Okay, guys, see you next week. Thank you all for tuning in. We're gonna see you soon.